Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Woo! Yes, what an amazing time, y'all. Shirley Chisholm once said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Yes. And today we've brought a lot of folding chairs. Woo! Hello, my name is Shanae Watson-Whitaker, spokesperson for the Reproductive Freedom for All campaign. 17 days ago, the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, completing a decades-long coordinated effort to restrict abortion rights. But today, I'm here to tell you that the people of Michigan are sending a very clear message: not in our state. We are taking a major step to bring the protections of Roe back to Michigan. The people of Michigan are turning in 753,759 signatures to enshrine into the state constitution the right to reproductive freedom. A right on which Michiganders have relied on for decades. The number of signatures show that here in Michigan, we trust women, we trust people, we trust doctors, not politicians, to make decisions about our body, our pregnancy, and parenthood. The overwhelming number of signatures represent people from all walks of life, all parts of Michigan. Michiganders from southeastern Michigan, central Michigan, northern Michigan, southwestern Michigan, and the Upper Peninsula. Over 2,000 volunteers, either on their own or a part of one of the dozens of organizations that have been collecting signatures for weeks in defense of our freedom and bodily autonomy. Simply put, this is about restoring the freedom women in Michigan already had, and allows doctors to provide the care they deem necessary as the medical standard of care. I know that Michiganders want to maintain their reproductive freedom, but don't just take it from me. Take it from the people who signed the petition for reproductive freedom. Take it from the hundreds of people who are gathered here in this room in solidarity with the people of this great state. And take it from the volunteers, for whom you will hear from today, who knocked on doors, stood outside farmers markets and music festivals, who talked to all of their friends, families, and neighbors about this effort. Together, we will ensure abortion access is protected by law in Michigan, and today is the first major step forward. Before I introduce you to our amazing speakers, I encourage everyone to go to our website, mireproductivefreedom.org, for more information about this amazing statewide effort. Now, I have the honor and privilege to introduce you to our four speakers today. Renee Chelian, Executive Director of Northland Family Planning Center. Dr. Michael Hertz, a retired OBGYN. Daniel Hamilton, Public Policy Director of YWCA Kalamazoo. And Elder Leslie Matthews, Michigan United's Director of Transformative Justice and Faith in Justice. And now I'd like to turn it over to Renee Chelian. Go ahead, Renee.
My name is Renee Chelian, and I'm the president and CEO of the 3 Northland Family Planning Clinics. I had a very dangerous illegal abortion in a dirty warehouse when I was 15 years old, and I was lucky that I survived and that I was not left infertile. When I was 20 years old, I flew to Buffalo, New York every weekend with a local doctor to help provide abortions for women who were able to travel to Buffalo from a 6-state area in Canada. That was so profound an experience for me to be part of women getting safe and legal abortions by a real doctor. In 1973, I celebrated the Roe decision. In 1976, I opened the first Northland Family Planning Clinic with my vision of how abortion care should be provided, medically safe, and with the dignity and respect that all patients seeking abortion services deserve. I have been an abortion provider for 49 and a half years. Thank you. For all of those years, me and my staff have had the privilege and honor of hearing patients' stories, holding their hands, which has taught us that an abortion decision is complicated. On June 24th, 2022, when Roe was overturned by the Supreme Court, I cried, and I am still grieving, because I understand it will have major health repercussions, unintended consequences, and much more for pregnant people and their children. I do not want women to go back to an abortion like mine, or for people to have to travel to another state, both of which I have experienced. Today, we are making a major step forward to reinstate the protections of Roe v. Wade. This amendment is about restoring the freedoms that we had before the Supreme Court ripped the right to make a private decision about pregnancy, the decision about when to bring new life into the world from all of us and put it into the hands of politicians. Our patients, most of whom who have never been politically active, began signing petitions in our offices early this year to protect abortion and reproductive rights for themselves and for all of the people that they love. They were excited and perhaps for the first time ever felt empowered to have a say in government. Our staff and doctors have worked tirelessly getting petitions signed, taking petitions to family and friends. Many of our stories are the same as all of the volunteers here. People are outraged and angry, and they want to do something to take back this right. Many people who were unsure about abortion, or who even told us that they were anti-abortion, signed our petitions because they said this has gone too far. We have as many stories from people as there are petition signatures. I have worked on this campaign, and I am here today because this is personal to me, from my daughters, from my granddaughters, but to also share the hopes and dreams of our patients, the hopes and dreams of most Michiganders, because to them it is also really personal. We must do this for all of our daughters, all of our granddaughters, all of our children, and every single person we love who may need an abortion in the future. We must ensure this right is not taken from the people of Michigan. Join us and do this for someone you love. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Michael Hertz.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Renee. 50 years ago this August, I began my 42-year journey as an obstetrician gynecologist in medical school in Detroit. Abortion was still criminalized in Michigan, even though Roe had been argued before the Supreme Court, and actually argued twice before the Supreme Court. Fully 15 to 20% of maternal mortality was attributed to illegal and unsafe abortion. And virtually all major metropolitan hospitals had so-called hysterectomy wards. attached to their emergency departments, where women who had sought care for complications for illegal abortion were stabilized overnight for surgical treatment in the following days. Permanent sterility was not an uncommon result. Criminalized abortion was a public health epidemic in the United States. 4 years later, when I began my OB-GYN training, Roe had become the law of the land and had made remarkable changes in that public health crisis. Gone from emergency departments were the hysterectomy wards, and the portion of maternal mortality from illegal abortion vanished. For the next 40 years of my journey as a physician caring for women, their health was protected by Roe, and women rarely died as a result of complications from safe, legal abortion. As a physician, I am duty-bound by the 4 principles of medical ethics. Roe demands no less of us, and interfering with the fundamental right of when, if, and how to bear children abuses and debases those precepts. Indeed, one of Roe's central tenets is the sanctity of the physician-patient relationship, the bedrock of medical care. We've known for years that Roe was in jeopardy. This campaign to finally enshrine the protections of Roe for the citizens of Michigan once and for all gives us a precious opportunity to do just that. The outpouring of energy, support, and activism across Michigan for the Reproductive Freedom for All campaign gives me hope that physicians in Michigan will never see or treat women for women suffering from the effects of illegal abortion. I live in northern Michigan now, rural northern Michigan now, and I've seen a groundswell of engagement to make this petitions drive the resounding success it is. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention other physicians who have contributed to my team up there: emergency physicians, retired pediatricians, ophthalmologists, and pathologists, and a woman in Marquette County who said, quote, "I'm hair on fire mad, what can I do to help?" Jen? Where is Jen? Her. That's right. That's right. Or another in the Sioux who had the brilliant idea to take a petition with her to her own gynecology visit and filled it with signatures in minutes. Sarah's back there somewhere. There she is. In the late 1960s, a group of physicians within the AMA, known as Physicians of Conscience, recognized the public health disaster of illegal abortion, and they spearheaded the drive that led to the decriminalization of abortion. Now, with this campaign, we all have become the new physicians of conscience, and we will do everything we can to ensure our patients' rights to safe, evidence-based reproductive health care. Thank you once again. Next, if I can invite and introduce Daniel Hamilton.
Good morning. As an organization that works to eliminate racism and empower women, I am proud to stand here today with fellow advocates, abortion care providers, and community members as we turn in the signatures for the Reproductive Freedom for All ballot initiative. We are at a pivotal moment in our country and here in Michigan. Over 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Supreme Court destroyed the last shreds of our national right to abortion without concern for our dignity and basic human rights. Every day since that decision, people have been denied abortion care, with the harm falling hardest on people of color working to make ends meet. We know that when politicians restrict abortion care, they interfere with the ability of Michiganders to control our lives, our bodies, and futures, and to live with dignity. But Michiganders, Black, Indigenous, other people of color, LGBTQIA individuals, and immigrants know what it's like to fight impossible odds. With decades of restrictions on reproductive health care, the YWCA Kalamazoo took action a year ago and launched the first comprehensive reproductive health fund to help our community overcome financial and logistical barriers to accessing abortion care, doula care services, and gender-affirming care as well. And with increased threats to abortion access, we have spent the past few months in our community and in our streets fighting for a world where each of us have access to a full range of reproductive health care, including access to abortion, without barriers based on who we are, where we're from, or how much we earn. From circulating hundreds of petitions to hosting a 12-hour petition drive-through event, the sheer number of signatures that our staff, volunteers, and our supporters have gathered demonstrates that people of color, LGBTQIA+ people, and young people are tired of watching as our dignity and our ability to control our bodies are subject to the whims of anti-abortion politicians and courts. As we turn in the signatures today, we are boldly affirming that each of us should be able to live, work, and make decisions about our health and our future with dignity and respect. Michiganders overwhelmingly agree that we will protect abortion access in this state come hell or high water. The stakes have never been higher. We are in the midst of an abortion care crisis, but we will meet this moment in the same way we have taken on struggles in the past. Head on, and by centering communities of color, queer and transgender communities, survivors of sexual violence, because our collective liberation is tied together. With the powerful showing of signatures today, Michiganders are making clear that bold action cannot wait, and we will continue to make our voices heard both in the streets and at the polls. Amending the Michigan Constitution is about claiming our power, our autonomy, and our human right to control our bodies. Today, we recognize that we have fought hard to arrive this far, and we are just getting started. We must stay connected to this fight and channel our indignation to continue to volunteer, to protest, and remain civically engaged, because we are making a difference and our voices will be heard in solidarity. Thank you. Now I would like to pass it to Elder Leslie Matthews. Thank you.
I'd just like to take a moment to bring our help into the room. The ones that have went before us, the ones whose shoulders we stand on today, the ones who gave us the spirit to fight. When our bodies are under attack, what do we do? When our bodies are under attack, what do we do? When our bodies are under attack, what do we do? When our rights are under attack, what do we do? Good morning. My name is Elder Leslie Matthews, and I am the Director of Faith and Justice and Transformative Justice at Michigan United. I shouldn't be here today, but I am. I am over 60 years of age, and my rights as a woman, as a human being, has been ripped away from me and 167.5 other million women in this country. On June 24, 2022, the United States of America Supreme Court literally snatched my breath out of my body. I was confused, and now I am mad as hell. And you know what they say, hell has no fury like a woman scorned. We have been betrayed and lied to by the highest court in this land. The only thing that I can think of at this point is that these people took an oath, took their left hand, placed it on the Bible, and swore before the American people, that means you and I, to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And that was a lie. What an egregious act. In my humble opinion, integrity no longer lives in the Supreme Court. The integrity has been breached. As a black woman, as an African American woman of Sierra Leonean descent, and y'all help me with that one, a fear has been awakened in my DNA, in my mind, my body, and my spirit. The spirit of bondage, knowing that the ones that came before me had no rights, no control over their own God-given bodies, and they were the property of a slave owner. They were at the mercy of the owner. The reversal of Roe versus Wade gives the United States the ownership over women's rights. With the overwhelming support of the gathering of signatures for this ballot initiative, the residents of the Michigan have spoken loud and clear. Hands off of our mothers, our daughters, our aunts, our nieces, our grandmothers' bodies. Our bodies will no longer be the property of the state or the politicians. Years ago, I heard the screams of a high school classmate who had one of those back alley abortions. The enforcement of Michigan's 1931 law on abortion would criminalize medical professionals, and that would take us back to that kind of scream, the one that I cannot forget. Imagine attending a funeral of a 27-year-old registered nurse whose cries for help went ignored as she hemorrhaged to death after giving birth. I remember the day that my doctor delivered the crushing news that I had to terminate my pregnancy because it was not viable. I could not have imagined going through that process without a trained medical professional to guide me on what was best for me mentally, physically, and emotionally. Reproductive rights is a part of health care, and everyone should have the right to receive holistic health care. We want to thank every volunteer who made a phone call, who carried a clipboard, who marched, or who raised their voice in support of this movement. All of your hard work has not been in vain. Our work moving forward will not be in vain. This work remembers every woman who has died in a back alley, on the dirty floor of a back room. Every woman who has lost their ability to give birth due to a botched abortion. This work remembers every rape victim, every victim of incest, every woman who has been given birth in a cotton field, every defiant pregnant woman who tried to escape slavery and their belly was split open as a punishment. This work remembers you. The people of Michigan and this country are in the fight for their lives. What do we do when we're under attack? Stand up. What do we do when we're under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
My vagina is my business. My vagina does my vote. Remember, every November, because we see now there was a price to pay. Thank you so very, very much. And at this time, I'd like to bring back, as we finally recall her, Dr. Shanae Whitaker.
I want want to thank the 4 amazing speakers today. Let's give them a round of applause. And now I'd like to introduce you to our campaign co-chairs. Summer Foster, Co-Executive Director of Michigan Voices, Nicole Wells Stallworth, Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Michigan, and Lauren Kogali, Executive Director of the ACLU of Michigan, but they'll be going in the following order. Summer first, Lauren second, and Nicole, last and not least, last.
All I can say right now is wow. This was made possible by the 62,000 Michiganders who signed up to volunteer, our grassroots donors, and the record-breaking voters who signed on to protect reproductive freedom in Michigan. We know that a clear majority of Michiganders want to keep the protections of Roe that they have counted on for nearly 50 years, and they're not standing by, waiting for others to take action. People from every corner of this state, people from every county of this state who signed our petition, and every walk of life jumped in, got to work, and brought us here today. That historic energy and momentum will power us through November.
It is only together that we are going to pass the Reproductive Freedom for All ballot proposal into the state constitution and ensure that deeply personal decisions about pregnancy and about reproductive health care remain as they should between patients and their doctors and without interference from politicians. That includes the right to make private decisions about birth control, miscarriage care, abortion, prenatal care, and childbirth. Generations before us have fought tirelessly to gain and protect the rights that we have today. I have my daughter with me here today, and I am just awed and proud that she is sitting in a room where people from every single nook and cranny of this state are using the power of direct democracy to say, no, not in Michigan, not anywhere. The devastating ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court means that this next generation could have fewer rights than the generations before us. We have no choice but to fight on and pass this very common sense ballot measure.
It's kind of hard not to stand up here and not be overwhelmed with emotion. It's that important. It's that serious. And to every Michigander who, like me, is overwhelmed with emotion and charged up and fired up, maybe even worried about protecting the rights and health of not only our generation, but generations to come, we invite you to join us. Go to myreproductivefreedom.org, that's M-I, reproductivefreedom.org, and sign up and participate, whether it's talking to your friends and family, knocking doors, making calls, hosting events, sending a donation, or doing what you've heard so many others here today do, sharing your own personal story. You have the power to make a difference. You are what will power this campaign to victory. You and the millions of Michiganders
who are ready to link arms with you. This is our time. We can and we will protect reproductive freedom here in Michigan because it's our vote, our bodies, our choice. Thank you. We are going to now open up the floor to be able to take questions. Summer, do you want to take that?
She's asking what do we need to do after we submit signatures to make sure that we win. And we're not done. We're just getting started. We plan to go to every corner of this state and tell people what this ballot means, what it means for your life, what it means for the future of your children and your grandchildren, why we need to protect reproductive rights in Michigan, why we need to pass this ballot measure to make sure that the people that we love are able to make their own choices when in regards to their health care. It's going to take a lot of education, it's going to take a lot of outreach, but we are prepared for it. We got 911,000 signatures and we are submitting 753,000, just over 753,000 signatures. That is an amazing amount. We've got 62,000 people signed up to volunteer for this campaign. We are going to work with those people to go out and tell stories, to talk to their friends and families, and stress why we need to pass this ballot initiative, and we will do so.
Thanks for the question. Undoubtedly, we are going to face challenges. We know that when an issue is as important as reproductive freedom in Michigan, that we are going to face challenges along the way. I think Summer just spoke eloquently about what it is that we have that nobody before us has had, which is we have a veritable army of volunteers standing up to support this initiative, to tell their stories, to sit around their kitchen tables and sit around their barbecues and share with each individual family member and each friend why this ballot initiative is so important. And we know that those stories and centering the people who have those stories to share is what is going to ensure that this initiative wins in November.
Well, one of the things that occurred, and we know, once the leaked opinion was made public, we saw an overwhelming and resounding surge of interest in our campaign. And as talked about today, we have had over 62,000 volunteers who have signed up via our website at myreproductivefreedom.org to participate in our campaign from every county within this state of Michigan. That is significant because it means that this is their campaign, and we intend to work with every single person who has joined this campaign, who, like the many volunteers that are behind us, have really put the wind in the sails of this campaign to move it forward. This is a citizens-led initiative. We want to be very clear about that. Reproductive freedom is truly for all, and that is what we're seeing. We are seeing people from all around the state of Michigan, from all walks of life, become seriously invested and involved in this campaign because it's personal for them.
Thanks for the question. That is an option. We will, as you would expect, the campaign is in the process of doing research and polling, and we'll let that guide any decisions we make with respect to that. Steve, do you think you could jump in here?
We have our attorney, Steve Lytle, who has been advising us on our campaign, who is just to our left, who's going to join us on the podium to take that question.
So Stella, under Section 2 of Article 12 of the Michigan Constitution, if approved by voters, it takes effect 45 days after the date of the election. So you're looking at a date in December of this year.
So we are confident in our process, and I can say that the complaint was not filed against the campaign itself. We are confident in our process, and we are focusing on the 62,000 people that signed up to volunteer for this campaign. What we've seen is this issue crosses across party lines. We've seen Republican women come and sign the petition. I don't know what the leaders of the party will do, but I know that there are people from every party that support reproductive freedom in Michigan.
Sure. So Planned Parenthood of Michigan gratefully filed a lawsuit back in April, and it's under that lawsuit that we're able to have this temporary injunction that has been granted by the courts, making abortion legal here in Michigan. That court case is very specific to the 1931 law. Our measure is far more broad than that, and we are very much committed to making certain that all of the voters of the state of Michigan understand that, know that, and as we know today, 911 Michigan voters have understood and have demonstrated their support for our campaign, and we're going to continue to move forward with that because our initiative protects all reproductive decisions, including access to an abortion. We're very proud and we stand behind that. We really don't know what the legislature will do as it relates to things that they are thinking in their minds as to how they might respond to this. Our primary goal for our campaign is to ensure that we can get this to voters and that we will allow voters to decide on this issue come November with this campaign. As we move beyond that, there are a variety of many things that will ensue. As Steve talked about, there's a 45-day period that this amendment would take into effect, which would enshrine the right to reproductive freedom into the Michigan Constitution. That's where we are, that's what we're focusing on, and that's really what we're going to be working with Michigan voters to ensure is passed in November.
Great, thanks for the question, Stella. So this is a state constitutional amendment, and I think to Nicole's, just to follow up on what Nicole is saying, you know, two things. One, currently there's a preliminary injunction in place as a result of Planned Parenthood of Michigan's lawsuit. There's no reason to believe that won't continue to be in place, and so that will continue to offer protections. The importance of the ballot initiative that would amend the state constitution is that it is the most enduring protection. I think we like to think about it as sort of a 1-2 punch, right? We have the preliminary injunction in place to ensure that the right and access to abortion is protected for the people of Michigan, even during that 45-day period before the constitutional amendment would take effect. And then the constitutional amendment comes in and protects the right to the right of access to abortion, as well as broader reproductive health care for generations to come. Sure, I'm happy to talk offline with you too about this, Stella, but you know, I would say this. The 1931 law would be nullified by the state constitutional amendment. The state constitutional amendment would also ensure that abortion access and other reproductive freedoms are protected in the state constitution as fundamental rights. And so that would be the presumption moving forward.
Thank you for that question. We are right now one of 2 states within this entire country that has a proactive ballot measure going before voters in November. So we should all be very proud that we have been forward thinking, and we have been preparing ourselves for this moment. This is our opportunity to ensure that we are enshrining the right to reproductive freedoms into the Michigan Constitution. And we are being looked at as a national model for how we use direct democracy to protect our freedoms well into the future and for generations to come.